let's see, let me turn to the scoring panelists first. Are there any conflicts that the scoring panelists are seeing as they review the panel, the attorneys, me?
I see no conflicts, Your Honor.
I see no conflicts either, Your Honor.
And Mr. Barsen, I know you're helping us out here. You have any conflicts with anything you're seeing?
No conflicts.
All right, folks. Let's get rolling then. Let's see, we're live streaming, outstanding, so your coaches can see you and so can your parents. All right, let me turn to the people. Are you prepared to proceed for the people?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the defense prepared to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and I believe all of you should have available scoring panelists, the team rosters through the chat. Counselor, have you uploaded your team rosters or not through the chat?
No, Your Honor, but we will do so momentarily.
And do the panelists have access to that already or not? Have they seen the roster? I'm
No,
seeing shaking heads. All right. So if both teams, if you have the capacity to upload, if you could do that for me or for the scoring panelists. It looks like Team A has uploaded, and I don't even know if I'm using the right word. I'm sorry, is it team? What's the other team? A and T, is it? I'm sorry, counsel.
We're Team W.
W, I apologize. All right, now I'll write it down and I'll be good. Let me know if you're having a problem with that. I don't want to delay you folks any longer.
We're almost ready to upload. One second, please. Sorry about that.
No problem. Oh goodness, can everybody still see me?
Yes, Your Honor.
I can't see any of you. You guys can see me?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor. At least from my perspective.
Hold on, guys. You
Yeah,
guys keep.
We can see you.
I don't know what happened. Hold on. Ben? Yeah, I have no audio. Or sorry, video. I can't see them. Oh, now I can. I just swear to God. Every time. They can see me.
So I know what the problem is.
Ben's working on it. All right, folks, we're working on it. It's been a challenging tournament. Can I worry about that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. All right, now I think I can see all you. Can you folks all still hear and see me? Thumbs up if you can, please.
Yes,
It's
Your Honor.
almost like a real courtroom nowadays, folks. It's real close to the way it works. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Courier, who's been very helpful here. All right, now that I can see everybody again, do you have everything, the rosters uploaded, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
And panelists, are you able to access that information?
Yes, we are.
Yay. All right. I need to let you all know, if you haven't heard it already, that the Colorado Bar Association may be taking screenshots of the competition today during this round, and that your participation in the tournament grants permission to allow that to occur and to allow your photographs to be used by the Bar Association. I'll just remind you all that no recesses will be permitted with the exception of those granted for a health emergency, and especially not between the end of a witness's examination and the beginning of closing arguments. All right, so no real recesses here, folks. We've already spoken with the scoring panelists. I'll just remind you all that any disputes arising out of the competition must be reported in accordance with the competition rules. Your compliance with time requirements is also considered in scoring your performances, so please keep that in mind. Don't want anybody to run out of time. And it looks like I've got, I believe, all participants. Do I have timekeepers from each team, please? Do we have that?
Yes, I'm the timekeeper for Team A.
And I'm the timekeeper for Team W.
Excellent. Got it. All right. Now I think we're at the fun part, folks. Let me have, starting with the prosecution, the attorneys enter their appearances and introduce the team, or the prosecution, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Edmond Kunith, and I will be conducting the direct examination of Detective Markowitz and crossing Avery Becker.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Alex Kaiser. I will be doing the opening statement as well as cross-examining Blake Van Owen and directly examining Kyle Kuzak.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I am Ananya Shrestha. I will be directing Alex Cifuentes and crossing Taylor Perkins, as well as doing the closing.
And for the actually prosecution witnesses, please.
Hello, Your Honor. My name is Natalie McLean, and I'll be playing Jordan Markowitz.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Braden Rowe, and I will be playing Kyle Kuzak.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Trisha Bolani, and I'll be playing Alex Cifuentes.
All right. Entries of appearance from the defense, then, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. I will be directing Avery Becker, and I will be crossing Kyle Kuzak, and I will be giving closing arguments.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm Keen Schottermont. I will be giving the opening argument. I will be directing Blake Van Owen, and I will be crossing Detective Jordan Markowitz.
My name is Catherine May. I will be direct examining Taylor Perkins and cross-examining Alex Cifuentes.
And the witnesses for the defense, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm Anna Steyer, and I will be Avery Becker.
Good afternoon. I'm Noah Orcutt, and I will be Blake Van Owen.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury. My name is Deanna Sogol, and I am Taylor Perkins.
All right, outstanding. All right. Thank you for your entries, counsel. I'm sorry, did I interrupt?
Oh, no, do you mind, Your Honor? Can you just repeat which, or can the teams just repeat which team letter is prosecution and defense?
Your Honor, I apologize.
Go ahead, counsel.
Were you about to say something?
No, you please go.
And the prosecution, I believe, is Team A, and the defense is Team W, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right. So team members, I'm going to have you raise your right hands, please. All right. Do you promise that the presentation you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition? All right, you can lower your hands. Now, maybe. Hold on. There we go. All right, witnesses, if you'd raise your right hands. Do you promise that the testimony you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to your witness statements, that you will not add material, fact, or opinions which are not contained in the case problem, and that you will follow the rules and procedures of the mock trial competition? All right, you can lower your hands. Scoring panelists, if you please raise your right hands. Do you promise to adjudicate the mock trial competition as fairly and objectively as possible in accordance with the facts, procedures, and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hands. All right. I do believe then we'll turn to the people with any preliminary issues.
Yes, Your Honor. May we please present the stipulated facts that both sides have agreed to in this case?
Yes, you may.
All right, please wait a moment as I get that pulled up here. Are you in view of the stipulated facts?
I am. Is there any objection to the court receiving those from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Kuniff, go ahead.
All right, and in further preliminary matters, please excuse me. I would like for both members of the prosecution as well as the defense counsels to remain seated throughout the trial due to the environment that we're currently in virtually, as well as any time and closing arguments that is left for the prosecution be reserved for rebuttal.
All right. Defense position as to both issues.
No positions, Your Honor.
All right. You may all remain seated, not only during your examination, but as witnesses, needless to say. I will reserve any time for closing for rebuttal that the people have not used. Any further preliminary issues from the people?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Any preliminary issues from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Outstanding. Are we ready for an opening from the people?
Yes, Your Honor.
right.
Tell me when you would like me to start going.
All right. Let's make sure that we got everybody ready. Go right ahead, counsel.
How far would you go to avenge the loss of your greatest passion? Sharpie someone's car? Trash someone's house? For some, this manifests itself as the removal of such a cause, of such a stain from existence. From Stalin to Xi Jinping, it has resulted in the death of many who do not deserve such a bleak end. This is the case for Mackenzie Brockman, a defense attorney and a coach for his local high school's mock trial team. Brockman was loved by most of his team and was relatively successful in his legal career, but as such golden tales so frequently end, his life was cut short. On March 6, 2020, Brockman was murdered inside of his own home and left to sully in a pool of his own blood. The people responsible for such a tragedy? Avery Becker, a disgraced member of Brockman's team of mock trial members. Becker has so frequently fought with Brockman over his inability to conduct himself responsibly. You will not only hear about how poor Mr. Brockman was found in a pool of his own cold blood from Detective Jordan Markowitz, a detective for 7 years and with the Denver Police Department for 13. But also how Becker had a long-running feud with Mr. Brockman, even going as far as to vandalize his car, and how the defendant was going to break into the house of the victim to vandalize it from Alex Cifuentes, a fellow mock trial team member, and how the murder was committed from Kyle Cusack, a crime scene reconstruction expert from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, who's been doing the job for 19 years straight. Through a combination of the testimonies, it will be shown how Becker not only wrote it, the message on the car, but knew it, what they're doing, and did it, the murder. And from the other side of the aisle, the murderer themselves, the murderer's best friend, who makes up claims that nobody else can back up, by the name of Taylor Perkins, and a professor who calls himself Blake Van Owen, who not only makes assumptions in their theory, but is also straight up being paid to throw shade. Van Owen even has the audacity to accuse this guy named Blair Rowlands of something his dad said 7 years ago, when Blair was 11. Let's not even get started on how Van Owen has called Kyle Cusack egotistical and describes his theory as comparable to that of a struggling novelist. Us prosecutors know we need to prove that we have the right person and beyond a reasonable doubt. We know this, and that's exactly what we will do. Now, why is Avery Becker suspected of murdering poor Mr. Brockman? Simple. Becker's phone was pinged at the scene of the crime and at the same time frame as the murder. Conveniently, the defense says that Becker was at a completely different location and that his phone was lost. Becker is being charged with 3 crimes: first-degree murder, second-degree burglary, and criminal mischief, of which all of them are serious. Murder being the ending of someone's life, burglary, meaning the unlawful entrance into someone's house, and mischief, meaning damaging someone's property. To boil it all down, all that needs to be proven is that Becker was in Brockman's house, and the findings from Detective Kuzak and Markowitz and his cell phone tracing will do just that. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, they are all that stands between Avery Becker and a cell. If you think that Becker was in Mr. Brockman's house, all you need to do is find him guilty.
Thank you very much, counsel. Does the defense wish to make an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Keen Schlater-Mott. I'm a defense attorney for this case. My own misadventures, I can tell you that when you're moving too quickly, you can gloss over details all too easily. When you rush, you miss things. The evidence that this case hinges on is all circumstantial. There is nothing linking Miss Becker to the crime. On the side of the prosecution, they're giving themselves too much grace and a margin of error far beyond a reasonable doubt. Video evidence shows an unidentified silhouette entering the Brockman household. The data collected from cell towers showed that the phone belonging to Miss Becker was within range. Examples of this will include cell tower data that show Miss Becker's phone was somewhere in the area, but fails to demonstrate if she was ever inside the house, only that she was close. This is vague and untrustworthy. The prosecution hurried themselves through this case, finding my client to be the most likely candidate. The theory of Miss Becker snatching a knife from the kitchen sounds good at first glance, but dig just a touch deeper and you'll find that the knife doesn't match the set found in Mr. Brockman's kitchen. Once again, they breezed right over this. Clearly, an outside intruder entered the house with plans to either rob or blatantly murder Mr. Brockman. To further prove the defense's point, you'll hear from my client herself. Following her testimony, Taylor Perkins, a close friend of the character witness of Miss Becker. Finally, you'll get an insight from Professor Blake Van Owen. Truly, the evidence is all fluff and no true link to Avery Becker. When the prosecution simply rushed through their investigation, much was missed, and the alternatives were cut for the reason of simplifying this trial. I ask you to look past the pizzazz and showmanship to see this. My client is not guilty.
All right. Thank you, counsel. All right. First witness for the people, please.
Your Honor, the people would like to call Detective Jordan Markowitz to the stand.
All right. Detective Markowitz, are you there?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Markowitz, please state your name spelling the last.
My name is Jordan Markowitz, Markowitz.
What's your relevance in this case?
I was a detective investigating the death of Mackenzie Brockman.
Can you describe your occupation a bit more?
Yes, I'm a member of the Denver Police Department, and I work specifically with cellular technology.
And for how long have you worked there?
I worked there for 13 years, but 7 years as a detective.
And what do you do in terms of that cellular technology that you mentioned?
I gather call detail records and I collect cell tower records as well.
Do you have any training with this specialty?
Yes, I have a cellular technology and forensic data recovery certification from the American Academy of Law Enforcement.
And how often do you use this expertise?
I use it on a regular basis and in over 50 cases.
Your Honor, I would like to qualify or to offer Detective Jordan Markowitz as an expert witness in standard detective work and the field of cellular technology.
Detective work in cellular technology?
That is correct.
All right, defense position, please.
Your Honor, permission to state a small voir dire?
You may.
Detective Markowitz, the certification you mentioned in cell phone technology and forensic data recovery is just a certification, correct?
Yes, it is.
So there was no degree necessary to receive this certification, correct?
No, there's a 3-day training course and a test I had to take.
But that's not a degree, correct?
No, it is not.
And with your many years of experience with the Denver Police Department, you do not have any reviews in your testimony of your performance, correct?
No.
Your Honor, I object to Detective Jordan Markowitz being confirmed as an expert witness in the fields of homicide, cell phone technology and forensic data recovery on the grounds of lack of experience.
All right, Mr. Kenneth, any response, or do you wish to lay further foundation?
Yes, Your Honor. May I please have a brief response?
You may.
Within the voir dire, the attorney mentioned the certification. It is indeed a certification in which Detective Markowitz did study this field of cellular technology and also use this education into these cases.
All right. All right, I'm not quite clear if the defense is objecting to the certification of expertise as to detective work. Are you, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, based upon the certification as well as the witness's experience, I will qualify the witness as an expert in the areas of detective work and cellular technology. Over objection. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Markowitz, now I would like to direct your attention to the day of March 6, 2020, the day of the murder. What was your involvement in the situation on that day?
I was investigating the house of Mackenzie Brackman.
And what did you witness when you first arrived there?
When I first arrived, I witnessed his body inside the front doorway of his home.
And with the dead body out there, did you notice anything else outside of the home?
I did notice a Ring doorbell camera.
And did you investigate anywhere else outside of the home, excluding the front porch?
Yes, after I went to the front porch, I walked around the side of the house and towards the back door. And on my way, I noticed a camera on the side of the house facing the back gate and in the backyard facing the back door.
And now that you've investigated the outside, did you investigate on the inside as well?
Yes, the house was in slight disarray. There was a broken plate on the floor, an open knife drawer, a knife missing from the knife block, and some blood splatters on the wall.
And now, throughout the rest of the house, was there anything else that was noticeable?
The front door was open, the knife was on the floor, and there was blood around the knife, and there was cast off blood on the wall and ceiling near the front door.
All right. Now I'd like to touch on an earlier point. Can you please describe the Ring cameras that you used?
Yes, there were 3 of them, and so I was able to go through Brackman's phone and log into his Ring account to get those videos.
And through gaining access to the account, what did you find?
I found that Brackman was paying an extra fee every month to save recorded events, so I was able to access 4 videos from the day of the murder.
Your Honor, I would like to present what's been marked as Exhibit 10.
Sorry, Exhibit 10?
That is correct.
All right. You're not asking me to admit it yet. You want to be able to show it to the witness. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. For purposes of identification, does the defense object to that procedure?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So you may, for purposes of identification, and I have not yet admitted the document, show it to the witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please wait momentarily as my co-counsel gathers. As seen from this video here, what is this video, Detective Markowitz?
This is a video of the intruder coming up to the front door, trying to open it, but walking away after realizing that it is locked.
And when was this taken?
This was taken on the day of the murder, March 6th, 2020.
And where did this video come from?
This came from the Ring doorbell account.
Has this been altered in any way, shape, or form since you've last seen it?
No.
Your Honor, I would like to move to admit Exhibit 10.
Defense, as to Exhibit 10.
No objections, Your Honor.
Exhibit 10 shall be admitted. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I would like to direct my co-counsel to please take down the exhibit. All right. Now, for the duration of this case, did you contact anybody involved in your investigation?
Yes, I contacted the high school's mock trial team.
And where did you gather the information for this high school's mock trial team?
I got information from the high school after finding messages and emails on Brackman's phone about mock trial.
And from there, who did you contact first?
I contacted all of the mock trial members, but Alex Cifuentes stood out the most.
And from Alex Cifuentes, were you able to get anything from him?
I was able to acquire screenshots from him of a text conversation between him and a student named Avery Becker.
And from this, did you also learn of anything else from Alex Cifuentes?
I learned that Avery Becker was texting him about that he was threatening to trash Brackman's home because he got kicked off of the mock trial team.
And from knowing that information, what did you do next?
I called Avery Becker in for an interview.
And were you able to get an interview?
No, Becker's lawyer canceled right before it was supposed to happen.
Were you able to get anything else in terms of Avery Becker?
Well, I put out a search warrant for Avery Becker's phone, but her attorney informed me that it had been lost, so I was able to acquire a phone number from their attorney.
Were you able to utilize that phone number in any sort of way?
Yes, I was able to get call detail records from the service providers of Avery Becker's phone.
Your Honor, I would like to present to the witness what has been marked as Exhibit 16.
All right, again, for purposes of this trial only and only for purposes of identification, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It's not yet been admitted.
Co-Counselor, can you please direct to Exhibit 16, please? Thank you. Detective Markowitz, what is this?
These are call detail records from Avery Becker's phone.
And what day were these call detail records from?
March 6th, 2020.
And who created this diagram here?
Avery's service provider.
And from the information gathered from Avery's service provider, who compiled all of this into this diagram?
I did.
And is this a fair and accurate copy since you've last seen it?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would like to move to admit Exhibit 16.
Defense position.
No objections, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, counsel, you just broke up. Did you say there are no or there is?
No objections.
All right. The court will then admit Exhibit 16.
Thank you, Your Honor. Co-counsel, you may now take this down. Now, can you describe what the call detail record portrayed?
Yes, so it shows that Avery Becker's phone was making connections to certain cell towers at certain times. At 12:47, it was connecting to the cell tower closest to Avery Becker's home. Then at 12:55, it was connecting to a cell tower near Rock Creek Parkway. And then lastly, at 13:05, 13:06, and 13:17, at a cell tower closest to Brackman's home.
And from compiling all of this, how is the call detail records useful?
Well, it could show that, it shows that Avery Becker's phone took a route to get to Brackman's home.
And so after viewing the scene, the rank account videos, as well as the call detail records, what is your hypothesis on what happened based on your experience as a detective?
Avery Becker broke into Brackman's home and stabbed Brackman.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination from the defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Mr. Markowitz, the forensic team took a picture of the scene, correct?
Yes.
The images were corrupted, correct?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. This is outside the scope of my direct.
All right, response.
I think that's fair.
Right.
I'd like to move on.
All right, the questions withdrawn then. The questions withdrawn, you may proceed, counsel.
I'd like to discuss the positioning of the victim's body.
Okay.
You stated earlier that the knife was found near the body, correct?
Yes.
Your testimony also stated that based on your research, if Mr. Brackman seemed to be running away after being stabbed, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Now, logically, the knife would be found further away from the body, correct?
Possibly, yes.
And now let's move into history with Mr. Brackman. In your testimony, you stated that you met Mr. Brackman before. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
You also stated that in his cases in which you had the displeasure of being cross-examined by him, he took cheap shots and attacked the work of the police, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Now let's discuss Ms. Becker's cell phone. Avery Becker claimed to have lost her phone the day before the murder, correct?
Yes.
And you claim to believe that Becker was not telling the truth about losing a phone the day before the crime, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
If in that case, it would be strange that Ms. Becker would not answer Ms. Perkins' texts or calls at all due to their close friendship.
Objection, Your Honor. This is also outside the scope of my direct. I don't believe there was a mention of Miss Perkins.
All right, response, counsel.
I'd like to withdraw my question.
Questions withdrawn. You may proceed.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Any redirect from the people?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Detective Markowitz, from the information gathered, based upon the cell phone usage, can it be conclusive that please excuse me, of Becker's cell phone's whereabouts?
Yes.
And based off of all the evidence shown, what can be proven off of this case?
Avery Becker was at Brackman's home.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. And I'm not going to permit any recross for purposes of today's trial for any witness. All right. You may step down, sir. Do the people have any further witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. We'd like to call Alex Cifuentes to the stand.
All right. Let's see. Do we have, is it Mr. or Miss Cifuentes?
Ms. Cifuentes.
We have Ms. Fuentes. All right, you may proceed, counsel.
Thank you. Hi, please state your first name and spell your last name for the record.
Hi, I'm Alex Cifuentes, Sifuentes.
Why are you here today?
I'm here today because my beloved mock trial coach Mackenzie Brackman was murdered.
Ms. Cifuentes, what school do you attend?
I'm currently a senior at Colorado High School.
And do you know Avery Becker?
I do.
Can you identify the defendant, Avery Becker? Your Honor, we request that Avery Becker turn on their camera for purposes of identification.
All right, that request is granted. If Mr. or Miss Becker can turn on their camera, please.
Yes. So the defendant has white curtains behind her and has dark, long hair.
Thank you. Moving on. So how do you know Avery Becker?
Avery attended CHS with me last year, but she graduated and we were also on mock trial together.
And what was your relationship with Avery Becker like?
We were really good friends, pretty much best friends. In fact, she was the one who got me interested in mock trial in the first place.
And you stated that you worked with Avery on the mock trial team. Did you also practice with them?
Yeah, I did practice with her.
And did you go to competitions with them?
Yep.
And how would you describe Avery Becker's work ethic in mock trial?
You know, she was pretty good at making things up on the fly, but she would be really unprepared and she would come late to meetings, and it kind of worked out for her, but it was really hard for the rest of the team and it always made us really anxious before competition.
And how would you describe the relationship between you and Mr. Brackman?
Brackman was one of my biggest role models. He was a talented lawyer and he was always finding ways for our team to improve.
And how did you work on the mock trial team?
I took my role so seriously. I would make drafts of my examinations, my openings and closings right when Mr. Brackman assigned them. And I would go home and create multiple drafts and revise them all until I thought that they were perfect.
Did you see Mr. Brackman and Avery work together?
I did.
And how would you describe Miss Becker's relationship with Mr. Brackman?
They honestly had a pretty strained relationship, again, because of Avery's repeated lack of preparation and lack of punctuality. They had a really strained relationship.
And so you stated that Avery Becker would consistently arrive to the meetings late. How did Mr. Brackman react to that?
For a while, he just put up with it, but at one point, he was completely fed up and he demoted Avery to the B team.
After that happened, how did Avery and Mr. Brackman's relationship continue?
It kind of got worse from there. Eventually, Avery got really upset with Brackman at how unfair it was that he got demoted to the B team. And so she wrote worst attorney award across the hood of his Porsche.
After Avery Becker vandalized Mr. Brackman's car, what happened?
Mr. Brackman kicked them off the team for good.
Was there a chance that Avery Becker was going to get back onto the team?
Objection, Your Honor. The lawyer is asking the witness to speculate.
Response?
Your Honor, I'm simply asking for Ms. Cifuentes' opinion based on what she knew of the mock trial team and Mr. Brackman.
All right. I will overrule the objection. I'll allow the answer. I can't recall if the answer has been given. If not, you may state it, or you can re-ask the question, counsel.
Ms. Cifuentes, would you like me to ask the question once again?
Sure.
So was there a chance that Avery was going to get back on the team?
Avery tried to get herself back on the team and even asked for help from some other team members, including myself. But Brackman was just so upset, so he said no.
I would like to I'd like to present Exhibit 14 to the witness.
All right, for purposes of identification.
Correct, Your Honor.
All right, you may. The exhibit has not been admitted.
Okay. Thank you. So I would like to bring your attention to the text messages between you and Avery Becker. What's in front of you?
These are text messages that I got from Avery shortly after the incident with the car.
And were these text messages delivered to your phone?
They were, yes.
And who was this conversation between?
It was between me and Avery Becker.
And were these altered in any way before you received them?
No.
Your Honor, I'd like to enter Exhibit 14 into evidence.
All right, defense position, please.
I object to the entrance of this exhibit into evidence on the grounds of lack of authenticity. We have no way of knowing for sure whether these text messages had been altered because they're a mere copy of the original.
All right, any response?
Your Honor, Alex Cifuentes has said just now that these were not altered in any way before they received them under oath.
All right. I will find that sufficient foundation has been laid at this point. I will note that the objection of the defense really goes more to the weight that the jury should accord the exhibit than its admissibility. And so over objection, I will admit Exhibit 14. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you. Now turning your attention to Exhibit 14, what did Avery Becker say to you?
She asked me after she got kicked off the team if I could ask Coach Brackman if he would be willing to let her back on.
And what was Mr. Brackman's decision?
He refused, and that's what I told Avery.
Did you tell Ms. Becker Mr. Brackman's response?
I did.
And what did Ms. Becker text you?
After I tried to get her back onto the team, Becker wrote texted me and said, quote, well, if he's still upset about his car, then he's going to be really upset when he sees what I'm going to do to his house.
And what did you tell Avery Becker after they said that?
I asked him what he was planning on doing to Brackman's house.
And what did she text you next?
She said, quote, I'm going to wait until he's at work, then break in and trash it.
Was that the last text message you received from Avery Becker?
It was.
Thank you, co-counsel. You can stop sharing. Thank you. Moving on, did you have an interview with an investigator after Mr. Brackman was found dead?
I did.
And did she accuse you of anything?
Yeah, she accused me of stealing Avery's phone and giving it to some kid named Blair Rollins, which I definitely didn't do any of those things.
Objection, Your Honor, this is hearsay.
Response?
Your Honor, I don't understand how it's hearsay. If opposing counsel could explain.
She's made the objection. I'd like to hear your response to it.
This is simply what Ms. Cifuentes experienced and what they saw and what they witnessed after the fact.
Didn't you ask what somebody told her? Or didn't she answer with what somebody told her?
Sorry, can I rephrase the question?
The objection is sustained. You may rephrase.
Okay. Did you fabricate text messages?
Of course not. I have no reason to. And Avery was one of my best friends.
And did you steal Avery Becker's phone?
Of course not.
Moving on, I want to talk about a student named Blair Rollins. Does Blair Rollins attend CHS?
Yep.
And did you know Blair Rollins?
Not really. I mean, we both go to the same school and maybe we've said hi to each other a couple times, but I definitely have not interacted with them that much.
Lastly, I'd like to ask you if you and Avery Becker were rivals in any sort of way.
Of course not. I don't know where this rumor came from, but Avery and I were teammates and we were really, really good friends. And it's honestly really hard for me to testify here today because I'd rather be doing just about anything else right now.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's no further questions.
Is there any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Cifuentes, I just have a few questions, if you're okay with that.
Yeah,
Would you say that you and Avery Becker are close friends?
I would, yes.
And is it also true that you and Avery Becker really only spent time together at mock trial practice and related events?
Yes, but we did work very closely together.
And is it true that you found Avery's lack of effort frustrating?
Yes, because it didn't just affect her, it affected the entire team.
And is it true that Avery won the Best Attorney Award at the regional tournament?
Yes.
And did she also win the Best Closing Argument Award?
Yes.
And Mr. Brackman said that she didn't deserve these awards?
He did.
And while she was extremely upset, Avery wrote on Mr. Brackman's car, correct?
Yes.
And you believe that Mr. Brackman should have pressed charges?
I do. I think that what Avery did was wrong.
And is it true that Mr. Brackman kicked Avery off the team?
Yes.
And you saw Avery Becker at the Fry Shack, correct?
Yes.
And that was the night before the murder of Mr. Brackman?
Yes.
And is it true that Avery gave you their phone?
Yes.
And they allowed you to play games on it?
Yep.
So you had complete access to her unlocked phone, is that correct?
Yes, that doesn't mean I did anything with it.
I'd like to move on to the text messages that you provided to Detective Markowitz. Is it true that you forgot to bring your phone on the day of the interview?
Yeah, it was a huge mistake. I left it charging because I wanted it to be alive when I showed the text messages to the detective, and then I absentmindedly left it on the charger.
And is it true that you only gave the detective screenshots of the messages?
Yes, but I did offer to give her my phone after the interview, even though I did forget it the first time.
And is it true that you no longer have that phone?
Yeah, the battery got shot.
And do you know Blair Rollins?
Barely.
You're in the same grade with them?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Is there any redirect from the people?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
So even though the detective never saw your phone, would you ever do anything to frame Miss Becker?
No, we were such good friends. Why would I want to get her in trouble on purpose?
And sorry, you offered to Detective Markowitz to bring your phone to another meeting, correct?
I did.
Okay, that is all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. The witness is excused. I'll ask if the people have any further witnesses.
Your Honor, the people request to call Kyle Cusack to the stand.
All right. Is that Mr. or Miss Cusack?
Mr. Kuzak.
All right. You may proceed, counsel.
Hello there. Can you state your name and spell it for the court record, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Kyle Kuzak, Kuzak.
And what is your current occupation?
I am a Colorado Bureau of Investigation, or CBI, certified crime scene reconstruction investigator, or CSR.
How long have you been on the Colorado Bureau of Investigation for?
I have been on it for a continuous 19 years now.
What do you do for the Colorado Bureau of Investigation?
I reconstruct various crime scenes, including home invasions, burglaries, and other property crimes, homicides, domestic violence, fatal accidents, and armed robberies.
Do you have any other relevant experience?
I have spent the last 3 years as a civilian employee doing CSR work for the city of Denver.
Can you explain your investigative process?
I use a 5-step process while I investigate. The 5 steps involve recognition and documentation, collection of evidence, evaluation of evidence, hypothesis and testing, and reconstruction. The first step is when I use a witness tracking spreadsheet to summarize the key points of information in the case. The second and third steps involve me preparing my evidence for a formal analysis, and my final steps involve peer review, leading me to my final crime scene reconstruction report.
How are you qualified to talk about crime scene reconstruction?
My 19 years of experience and also my 5-step sequence help me to certify or qualify me, but I also use a linear sequential unmasking process where I use information in a step-by-step manner to offset the influence of context, creating more investigative questions and thus more analysis for the best result possible in every case.
Your Honor, the people move for Kyle Cusack to be admitted as an expert on crime scene reconstruction.
All right. Defense position, please.
Your Honor, may I please perform a brief voir dire?
You may.
Mr. Cusack, are you a police officer?
No.
So do you have any true formal training in all of your fields of expertise?
No.
But you are a civilian employee?
Yes, I am.
Your Honor, I object to the qualification of this witness as an expert in the field of crime scene reconstruction on the grounds that Mr. Cusack is a civilian employee and is not formally trained.
Any response or further questions for the people?
Yes, Your Honor. You see, Kyle Cusack has been doing their job for 19 years straight. They have been board certified, and it shouldn't matter whether they are a police officer or civilian for them to be able to effectively do their job.
All right. Having heard the defense's objection, over that objection, I will qualify this witness as an expert in the area of crime scene reconstruction based upon his training and experience. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Mr. Cusack, are you familiar with 444 South Flower Street?
Yes, I am. To my knowledge, that is where the murder occurred. It is also the victim, Mackenzie Brackman's residence, and it lies inside of Colorado, the jurisdiction I work in.
All right. Have you applied your 5-step process to this crime?
Yes, I apply it to every crime that I am in, assuming that it will go to a court trial. First, I created a witness tracking spreadsheet, a basic flowchart, and a timeline. Then I used the tracking sheet to note relationships with the other evidence. Then I formally conducted my analysis based on this and developed a hypothesis, which led me to my final reconstruction report.
Okay, let's talk about the events that occurred on the afternoon of March 6, 2020. Based on your analysis, can you walk us through a timeline?
Yes, I can. On that afternoon, a person matching the general height and build of the defendant walked up to the front door wearing a mask and gloves. They tried to open the front door to enter, found it locked, and went around to the side gate, which they entered through, then to the back sliding glass door, and they entered the victim's residence using that. And all of this was caught on ring security tape.
What conclusion can you come to based on your analysis?
Based on my crime scene reconstruction, there were many notable pieces of evidence, such as a broken plate, scuff marks, an open knife drawer, and a knife block, which all imply a struggle.
What does the missing knife imply?
Like I said, the knife implies a struggle, but also implies that the victim must have armed themselves after they were notified by their ring security system and saw that someone was trying to enter their house. During this struggle that happened, the perpetrator must have gotten the victim's knife and stabbed Mackenzie Brackman in the back. This most likely happened while the perpetrator was being bear hugged by the victim.
What happened after the victim was stabbed?
The perpetrator then fled out the front door, and the victim remained in the house, pulled the knife out of their back, and died.
What makes you say there was a struggle?
The most prominent evidence of the struggle are the scuff marks, which you can see in Exhibit 18.
Your Honor, I request to show the witness what's been marked as Exhibit 18.
For purposes of identification only, you may. Again, the exhibit has not yet been admitted.
Co-counsel, can you screen share it? First of all, is this Exhibit 18 as you know it?
Yes, this is an identical copy of how I last saw it.
Can you explain these scuff marks?
They are positioned by the back sliding glass door of the residence as seen.
Is this picture a representation of how you found the crime scene at 444 South Flower Street?
Yes, it is a clear and accurate copy.
Your Honor, the people move for this photo to be admitted into the chain of evidence.
All right, position of the defense, please.
No objections, Your Honor.
All right, Exhibit 18 shall be admitted. You may proceed.
Okay, Mr. Kuzak, can you give a quick overview of what these scuff marks imply?
These scuff marks imply that immediately upon entrance through the back door, the perpetrator got into a fight with Mr. Brackman. And during this fight, Brackman was stabbed in the back, likely while being bear hugged, allowing the perpetrator to stab Brackman in the back by going over his shoulder.
Going back through the timeline, how were you able to conclude the victim was stabbed inside of his kitchen?
There were photos of blood cast-off marks and blood droplets originating in the kitchen and going to Mr. Brackman's dead body.
Can we see these photos?
No, to my knowledge, they became partially corrupted.
Did this hiccup influence any of your findings?
Not at all. I was able to use them before they became corrupted, allowing me to get a correct theory.
Are you able to describe the perpetrator?
They are the general height and build as the defendant, as seen in the ring videos.
No further questions.
All right, any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Mr. Kuzak, let's start with your qualifications. You work for the police department, correct?
No, I'm a civilian employee.
Objection asked and answered.
Response?
I only asked the question one time and the witness answered it.
The objection is overruled. You may answer the question. I think I've heard the answer, but if you haven't gotten your answer, ask again, counsel.
No, I'll move on. Do you reconstruct crime scenes?
Yes, that is my job.
And you visited the scene of the murder of Mr. Brackman at 444 South Flower Street?
Yes.
Before or after the evidence was processed by other experts?
It was after.
And this murder occurred on March 6, 2020?
Yes, to my knowledge.
And when you visited the crime scene, you concluded that the knife was lodged in Mr. Brackman's back, correct?
It must have been, but it was since pulled out of Brackman's back, most likely by him.
Was the knife lodged in a way that it was hard to pull out?
I think it was.
And how, if Brackman was in so much pain, could he have pulled the knife out?
I do not know.
And the video, the Ring doorbell video, which you referred to earlier, shows a masked person entering the residence.
It shows that through the back door, yes.
Was the perpetrator wearing gloves?
Yes.
Was any DNA left behind?
No, but that fact is totally obvious because they were wearing gloves.
Was the face of the intruder ever seen?
No, they were wearing a mask.
You concluded that someone alike to Avery's body type killed Mr. Brackman, but there is no DNA or visual proof, correct?
There is no DNA or visual proof.
And the blood splatters from the scene were corrupted?
Yes, but after I was able to complete my investigation.
So you couldn't piece together the whole story of the case?
No, I was able to because it was after I completed my investigation, like I had said.
But you were not able to see if there was any DNA or visual proof which would connect Avery Becker to the crime, correct?
I've already answered that.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, and can I get a time check on how much time the prosecution has left for direct, please? All right, you do have time left. Mr. Kaiser, did you wish to ask any redirect questions?
Sure. May I start?
You may.
Was the entry and exit of the murder caught on camera?
Yes.
Is there clear evidence of a struggle?
Yes, the scuff marks and the broken dish.
Were you able to create a complete reconstruction despite camera issues?
Yes, I was.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. You may step down, Mr. Kuzak. Are there any further witnesses for the people?
No, Your Honor. The people rest their case.
All right. I've been flying a bit, folks. I'd like to just take a moment to let our scorekeepers catch up. I realize I've been going a bit fast, so my apologies. We'll give them just a couple minutes to catch up a bit. If I can just bother my scorekeepers to see if they feel that they're ready for the court to proceed.
I'm ready, Your Honor.
I'm
Also-
ready as well.
All right, then. I will ask if the defense has any witnesses.
The defense calls Avery Becker to the stand.
All right. Is that Mr. or Miss Becker?
Ms. Becker.
All right, we have Miss Becker here. Counsel, you may proceed.
To start off, please state your full name and spell your last name for the jury.
My name is Avery Becker, spelled Becker.
Now, where did you go to school last year?
I went to Colorado High School, also known as CHS.
And what clubs did you participate in at CHS?
I participated in mock trial all 4 years of high school.
And who is your mock trial coach?
Mackenzie Brackman.
Can you describe your relationship with Mr. Brackman?
Myself and Mr. Brackman always highly disagreed on how we approached mock trial. He believed that I should be very prepared and scripted while I made up all of my
Objection to relevance, Your Honor.
Response, counsel?
This goes to the relationship between the defendant and the victim in the case.
All right, the objection is overruled. You may answer the question, Ms. Becker.
Starting over, Mr. Brackman always believed that I was highly unprepared for mock trial, and I believed that making things up on the fly was what worked best for me and what won me awards in the end.
Thank you, Avery. Now, what can you tell us about Taylor Perkins?
Taylor Perkins is one of my best friends.
And what was your relationship like with Taylor Perkins, specifically in relation to mock trial?
We both joined mock trial to be together and be able to hang out together in the club.
And did you and Taylor have a good relationship?
Yes, we did.
And what was your role in mock trial last year?
Last year, I was an attorney who directed the mother's nurse and crossed the doctor.
And what happened at the regional tournament?
At the regional tournament, I won Best Attorney and Best Closing.
And how did Brackman react to these awards?
He still failed to congratulate me, and he rather said that I only won a role.
Objection, hearsay.
All right, response?
The witness was in the presence of Brackman when of her coach when the coach reacted to these awards and was able to see how witness how the victim reacted to the awards that she won.
Your Honor, may I respond briefly?
Hold on one sec. So are you asking counsel for her reaction or the statements that she heard from Mr. Brackman?
The statements that she heard from Mr. Brackman.
All right, you may respond, Mr. Kuhn.
In terms of the response from them, I don't exactly see how direct statements would exactly help influence this. Rather, the overall mood would help establish the relationship for this case.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'll sustain the objection as to the statements made by the other individual, Mr. Beckman. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. I'll allow you to rephrase the question if you wish, counsel, to ask for a reaction. You may proceed.
How did Mr. Brackman react to the awards that you won?
He failed to congratulate me in any way and rather said that I only won the awards for reasons like looks and pure luck.
And how did this make you feel?
That made me very angry because I felt that I worked really hard to get to where I was in mock trial at that time.
So what did you do after this?
After I stormed out of practice with what I believe to be a dry erase marker, given that I was about to write on a dry erase board to go over regionals, and I saw Mr. Brackman's Porsche, and I wrote Worst Attorney Award on the hood of his Porsche.
Did you intend at all to vandalize Mr. Brackman's car?
I only intended to write on it with a dry erase marker, not a permanent marker, which I later found out it to be.
And what happened after you vandalized the car?
Mr. Brackman came out to apologize for his actions, but he saw his Porsche and kicked me off the team.
And how did you react to being kicked off the team?
I was extremely upset because I was preparing for regionals and it was my last year in mock trial and I knew I could win Best Attorney.
Did you apologize to Mr. Brackman in any way?
I did not that day, but after going home and talking to my mother, we came to the conclusion that it would be best for me to apologize to Mr. Brackman the following day.
Do you believe that your apology was sincere?
Action, improper lay opinion.
Response?
The witness is stating how she, if she was apologetic towards the victim in this trial about the vandalism that she did towards him.
All right, the objection is overruled. The witness may answer the question.
Can you repeat the question?
Was your apology towards Mr. Brackman sincere?
I initially tried to apologize to Mr. Backman in person, but his secretary said he wasn't willing to talk to me. So I then texted him and offered to scrub his car and also to get a job to afford to repaint his car.
And to be clear, you regret your actions on the day when you vandalized his car.
Yes, very much so.
I now want to direct your attention to March 5th. Can you describe what you did after school on this day, the day before Brackman was killed?
Myself and Taylor Perkins went to the mall and also the Fry Shack, in which we saw other members of mock trial like Alex Cifuentes.
And the next day, March 6th, what happened after you woke up?
I woke up to find that I didn't have my phone anymore, and I could not recall where I had put it.
Do you remember the last time you had it before it went missing?
I remember playing games on my phone with Taylor and not remembering anything after that.
So what did you do next?
I drove to Taylor's house and I told her that my phone was lost, and we decided to go back and retrace our steps at the mall and Fry Shack to see if we could find it.
And what's your relationship with Alex Cifuentes?
I have never been close with Alex, and I think he's always been jealous of me in a way, because I have always been won the best attorney award, and we were not good friends because of that.
So you do not consider yourself good friends with Alex Cifuentes?
No, I do not.
Did you ever text with Mr. Cifuentes?
No, I did not.
And moving on, what was your relationship like with Blair Rowlands?
I did not directly know Blair Rowlands, but I knew Blair.
Objection, lack of foundation. I seem to, I'm not sure if I'm following this correctly. I don't believe the jury has been notified who Blair Rowlands exactly is.
Response from the defense.
I will rephrase my question. This goes to a alternate suspect in this case that is extremely relevant.
All right, so are you going to rephrase, or do you want this question answered, counsel?
I'll rephrase the question and add more foundation.
All right, the objection is sustained. You may proceed with a new question.
Ms. Becker, are you aware of Blair Rowlands, a student at Colorado High School?
Yes, I am. To my knowledge, Blair knows Alex Cifuentes, and Blair's father was sent to jail because Mr. Brackman lost his case.
Objection, speculation.
Response, counsel.
The witness is not speculating on anything. She's just stating facts about what she knows about another person that goes to her school.
Your Honor, may I respond briefly?
Sure.
In terms of whether or not Avery Becker knows of, I can understand the relation between Blair Rowlands, considering they worked with each other and on the mock trial team of Colorado High School. However, the relation between Avery Becker and Blair Rowlands' father, Jonathan Rowlands, seems distant and far apart in order for Avery Becker to have a considerable knowledge.
All right. I appreciate the arguments of both attorneys over the objection. I'm going to overrule the objection and allow the question to be answered. Counsel, you can re-ask it if you wish.
What is your relationship like with Blair Rowlands?
I did not know Blair very well, but I do know that Blair was friends with Alex Cifuentes and had relations to Mr. Brackman.
Objection asked and answered.
I was rephrasing the question.
All right. I'll allow the answer to that question. I'll overrule the objection, and then you can continue. So the witness may finish her answer.
So I knew that Blair Rowlands had relations to Mr. Brackman, given that Mr. Brackman lost the case of her father, which sent him to jail.
Have you seen Blair recently?
No, to my knowledge, Blair disappeared after the murder.
So just to be clear, did you ever go to Mr. Brackman's house on March 6, 2020?
No, I did not even know where Mr. Brackman lived prior to the trial.
Thank you, Ms. Becker. This witness is prepped for cross.
All right. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Becker. For the following questions, I would like you to please narrow your responses into a yes or no response. Do you understand the implications of these questions?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Now, first, I'd like to talk about your perspective of the trial at hand. You believe yourself to be wrongly accused,
Yes, I do.
and you believe that the people who have truly done it are Rollins and Cifuentes. Isn't that right?
Yes, I do.
And moving on to the cell phone, you cannot confirm that Cifuentes has your phone. Is that right?
No, I cannot confirm that.
You cannot
lack of
confirm.
foundation.
Your Honor, may I respond briefly?
You may.
In terms of the lack of foundation, it has been properly laid within counsel's direct statement.
All right, the objection is overruled. I believe I've heard the answer. You may proceed.
Ms. Becker, you cannot confirm where your phone is. Is that correct?
No, I cannot.
And it somehow took you an entire day to realize that your phone was misplaced. Is that right?
I believe it took the night, but yes.
And you claim that Rollins and Cifuentes had set you up. Is that right?
Yes, I believe that to be the case.
I apologize. Can you repeat that?
Objection argumentative.
I didn't hear that at all. I apologize. All right, response.
Your Honor, within Becker's statement as well as examinations, it shows that Avery Becker claimed that Rollins and Cifuentes has set them up.
Your Honor, may I briefly respond?
You may.
Ms. Becker never mentioned any theory of Alex Cifuentes and Blair Rollins stealing her phone. It has not been mentioned so far throughout this trial, so I believe this question should be thrown out.
All right. Again, over a good objection, I will overrule it and I will allow the witness to answer the question nonetheless. I believe the answer came, but if not, you can re-ask the question.
Ms. Becker, you claim that Rollins and Cifuentes had set you up, correct?
Yes, I believe that to be the case.
You cannot provide evidence that Cifuentes and Rollins had set this up. Is that right?
No, but I do know that Alex was present at the time my phone went missing.
And you believe Blair Rollins would commit a heinous crime based off of a bad relationship with Brackman.
Objection relevant.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
In terms of the foundation that was laid in the direct statement, the relationship between Blair Rollins as well and Mackenzie Brackman through Jonathan Rollins has been properly laid down, thus describing the relevance between the case of Blair Rollins as well as Mackenzie Brackman.
Any response from the defense? Sorry, you're muted, sir. Hold on, Mr. Long. You're muted, sir.
I do not believe that whether or not Ms. Becker's opinion of whether or not Blair Rollins could commit this crime is relevant to this at all.
Your Honor, may I briefly respond?
No. All right, I'm gonna overrule the objection. The question can be answered. If we've not heard it, I'll take the answer now.
Ms. Becker, you believe that Blair Rollins would commit a heinous crime based off of a bad relationship with Brackman.
I do not know Blair well, but I do think that Blair hated Brackman more than I did.
All right, and now moving on to your own relationship with Brackman. You and Brackman, quote, got on each other's case.
Yes.
You and Brackman used to argue.
Yes, we did.
Brackman always criticized you.
Yes.
Brackman claimed that you were lazy.
Yes.
You think that Brackman is egotistical.
Yes.
You even believe that he hated you. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
Now I'd like to move on to the night in which you vandalized Brackman's car. That night, despite your victory, Brackman yelled harsh criticism at you, right?
He did.
This in turn made you angry.
Yes.
Your rage caused you to vandalize Brackman's Porsche with a permanent marker.
Yes, but not purposefully.
Nonetheless, you still vandalized Brackman's white Porsche, is that right?
Yes, I did.
And you placed right on the hood of Brackman's Porsche Worst Attorney Award, is that right?
Yes, I did.
And then afterwards, in your rage, you stated that you would get back at him if it was the last thing you did.
Yes, I did, but I later calmed down and apologized.
Yet you still stated that.
Yes, I did.
Objection asked and answered.
Your Honor, I was just asking for clarification.
All right, the objection's overruled. I've heard the answer. Next question, please.
Ms. Becker, you only realized the severity of your actions when you weren't angry or upset with Brackman.
Yes, I did.
And now moving on, you didn't attend school on the 6th of March, is that right?
No, I did not attend school.
And the only person capable of testifying for this is a close friend of yours, Taylor Perkins, correct?
That's correct.
And you believe yourself to be one of the only people who hates Brackman the most.
Yes, but I believe Blair is the one who hates him the most.
However, you stated you believe yourself to be one of the people who hates Brackman the most.
Objection
Is
asked
that?
and answered.
I'm sorry, asked and answered was the objection?
Yes.
I think that's correct. The objection sustained. Next question, please.
And from that, lastly, from all this information presented, the relationship between you and Brackman is obviously not good, but rather described as bad. Is that right?
That's correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Ms. Becker, do you believe that Blair Rowlands is a more likely suspect than yourself for this case?
Yes, I do.
Did you send any texts to Alex Cifuentes?
No, I did not.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. The witness may step down and be excused. Does the defense have any further witnesses?
The defense calls Taylor Perkins to the stand.
All right. And I'm sorry, is that Mr. or Miss Perkins?
That's Miss Perkins.
Miss Perkins, are we here, Miss Perkins?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hello, may you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Taylor Perkins, Perkins.
And why are you here today?
I'm here today because I believe my best friend, Avery Becker, would never murder our mock trial coach.
Let's begin with your relationship with Avery Becker. How did Avery know Mr. Brackman?
Avery knew Mr. Brackman as our mock trial coach. She was a member of the Colorado High School mock trial team, as was I.
And from your perspective, may you please briefly describe Avery's relationship with Mr. Brackman?
Avery and Coach Brackman always seemed to be at odds. From what I observed, they got into many disagreements about the best way to prepare for a trial. I personally, however, tried to stay out of their little feud.
And could you describe Avery's involvement in mock trial?
Avery was very involved in the team. She was by far one of the best, if not the best, attorney on our team.
Did everyone agree with that?
I do believe that the team understood that she was very good. She had gotten many awards, which everyone was aware of.
Did Mr. Brackman also celebrate her success?
He did not. He was often very quick to jump to criticism instead of congratulating her achievements.
And was Avery ever punished for her disagreements with Mr. Brackman?
She was. She was demoted to the B team for being late to practice too often. After that incident, I offered to give her my position on the team because mock trial meant much more to her than it did to me.
I'm sorry, did I hear an objection?
Yes, sorry, objection narrative.
All right, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Thank you. Response, counsel.
This is not a narrative question. The witness is still just briefly describing the relationship, and everything she said is directly related to the question I asked.
All right, the objection is overruled. You may ask your next question, counsel.
Thank you. I'll just go back a little bit. We were talking about how Avery got kicked off of the A team due to her tardiness. How did she get back on the team?
I offered her my position on the team. Mock trial was much more important to her than it was to me, and she was much more passionate than I was. And as it was our senior year, I believe she deserved to have that position more than I did.
And why did you do this for Avery?
I did this because I'd like to think of myself as a good friend, and I really saw how much mock trial meant to her, and I wouldn't want her to have to give that.
And do you stand by this decision? Ms. Perkins, did you hear my question?
Oh, have we lost Ms. Perkins?
Yes, I asked that the time be stopped due to...
Yes, please. If we please stop the time. Ms. Perkins, can you hear okay?
Yes, I apologize. My computer glitched. Would you mind repeating the question?
Yes, we can resume time. Thank you. My question was, do you stand by your decision to allow Avery to join the A team again?
I do.
Now I'd like to talk about Avery's last practice, the practice after regionals. How did that practice begin?
Well, I was not at the practice. I believe the practice began with the team going over things that went well and things that didn't go as well at the regional tournament.
And did any altercation happen between Mr. Brackman and Avery at this point?
Yes, despite the fact that Avery got both the Best Attorney Award and the Best Closing Award, Mr. Brackman was quite upset with her performance at regionals, and they got into their biggest altercation yet.
And how did Avery handle this altercation?
Avery was quite upset. She stormed out of practice and with what she thought was a dry erase marker in her hand vandalized Mr. Brackman's car.
And how did Mr. Brackman respond to this?
He was furious and kicked her off the team.
Did Avery make any attempts to rejoin mock trial?
She did. She had asked Mr. Brackman to rejoin, but he would not hear it.
Let's move on to March 5th, the day before Mr. Brackman's murder. Where did you and Avery go after school?
After school that day, we went to the Fry Shack in the mall.
Sorry, am I hearing objections? Oh, no. Sorry, just background noise. All right, I'll continue. Did you see anyone there?
We did. We saw the entire mock trial team.
Do you remember anyone specifically?
Yes, Alex Cifuentes was playing some games on Avery's phone.
And at this point, did Avery still have possession of her phone?
She did not. Alex was in possession of the phone to play a game.
And do you remember if Avery picked up her phone when the two of you left the Fry Shack?
I do not. Avery was quite upset when we left the Fry Shack due to the events that took place in the mock trial meeting. We left quite quickly, and I cannot recall if she took her phone.
And where did you and Avery go after you left the Fry Shack?
We went to the mall.
And the next day, March 6th, 2020, what did you and Avery do? Miss Perkins, you cut out again. We'll just wait for you to reconnect.
Ms. Perkins, can you hear us, ma'am?
Yes, I apologize. My computer glitched. Would you please repeat the question?
Restart time, please.
Yes, thank you. And on March 6th, 2020, where did you and Avery go?
We went to the mall that day to look for her missing cell phone.
And did you go to school that day?
We did not. We skipped school to look for the phone.
And after you went to the mall, where did you go?
We went to the Fry Shack in the mall to continue looking for the phone.
And did you see anyone there?
No, it was the middle of the day and all of our friends and classmates were at school.
And now I'd like to talk about your former classmate, Blair Rollins. Could you describe the relationship between Blair Rollins and Mr. Brackman from your perspective, of course?
From my perspective, Blair hated Mr. Brackman more than anyone else in the world. Mr. Brackman lost the case that sentenced Blair's father to life in prison, and I believe Blair held this against him.
Objection, speculation.
Response, counsel?
At this point in the case, it's been established that the relationship between Blair Rollins and Mr. Brackman is sort of common knowledge within the class population, and it's well within Mrs. Perkins' area of knowledge to testify to this.
All right. Well, the objection is really speculation. I will find that it is permissible lay opinion based upon the foundation that's been provided. I will overrule the objection. I've heard the answer. Capable objection and response, counsel. Thank you. You may continue, counsel.
Your Honor. Was Blair Rollins friends with anyone? Gianni, Miss Perkins, you cut out again. Here, we'll wait. It seems to be connecting after a second.
And if the timer just keeps an eye on that, I appreciate your help, timers.
You do too. Thank you. Gianna, can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm sorry. My computer does not seem to be too happy today.
No problem. We understand. I'll re-ask the question.
Thank you.
Was Blair Rollins friends with anyone?
I believe Blair Rollins was friends with Alex Cifuentes.
And to your knowledge, was Blair at school on the day of Brackman's murder?
From what I've been told by fellow classmates, Blair was not at school. In fact, no one's seen Blair since the day Mr. Brackman was murdered.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Any cross-examination from the people?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Hi, Ms. Perkins. For the following questions, can you answer with a yes or no answer?
Yes,
Okay. You're on the mock trial team, correct?
I am.
And you would consider Avery Becker to be one of your best friends.
I would.
You and Avery Becker thought that Mr. Brackman was a mediocre coach.
That is correct.
And both you and Avery Becker thought he was an even more mediocre lawyer as well.
I did think so, correct.
Moving on, Avery came unprepared to meetings.
Yes, Avery often was a little unprepared.
And they put little to no effort into mock trial.
I believe she did put effort in, however, her preparation did differentiate from that of the rest of the team.
And so is that a yes or no?
That is, yes, she did not put in the same effort that.
Oh, we lost the witness.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Ms. Perkins. Just can you re-answer that question, please? We just lost your response. We've lost audio for Ms. Perkins. Ms. Perkins, I don't know if your connectivity will come back here.
Hi, I'm back. I apologize for that.
That's fine. Go ahead and answer the question again, if you would, please.
Could you please repeat the question?
Of course. So was it a yes or no? They put little to no effort into mock trial.
I believe it is a yes. She did not put in the same effort as the rest of the team. However, she did still put in effort.
Okay. And they were almost always late for meetings.
Yes, Avery was often.
And you even state that Avery could be rash and have an inflated ego.
Hope if we lost Ms. Perkins again. Ms. Perkins, can you hear okay? All right, again, I'll just ask the timers to keep an eye. Ms. Perkins, can you hear us?
Yes, I apologize for that.
If you'd ask your question again, counsel.
Okay. So you stated that Avery could be rash and have an inflated ego at times, correct?
Avery did make some rash decisions, yes.
And you even noticed that a month before regionals, Avery came to practice the most unprepared you had ever seen her.
Yes, which I believe is quite understandable. It was our senior year, and everyone was a little less focused on school in senior year.
So that's a yes.
That is a yes.
And that made Brackman heated from what you saw.
Yes.
And he would get frustrated with her.
Yes.
And he even called her out on multiple occasions.
He did.
And after those incidents, Mr. Brackman called him out. He was demoted to the B team, correct?
That did happen, correct.
And you decided to quit mock trial.
I did.
But once you quit, Brackman was forced to put Avery back onto the team, correct?
That is correct.
And after one practice, she was so upset that she wrote Worst Attorney Award in permanent marker on Mr. Brackman's beloved Porsche.
She did. However, she was unaware at the time that it was a permanent marker.
But that's a yes.
That is a yes.
And after that incident, Brackman kicked Avery Becker off the team for good.
He did.
And after they kicked off the team, Miss Becker texted everyone on the team to try and get back on.
Well, I am not Avery myself. I cannot assure you of who she did and didn't text. However, I do believe she texted our teammates. Yes.
And one of the people that Avery texted was Alex Cifuentes.
Potentially. I know Avery and Alex didn't get along, and Alex is the last person Avery would ask for help.
But to your knowledge, she texted Alex Cifuentes, correct?
I'm not Avery, so I can't be entirely sure who she did and didn't text. Maybe.
Sorry. Your Honor, permission to impeach Miss Perkins.
Okay.
If counsel could pull up Miss Perkins' statement.
All right. Do you wish to impeach her with her statement, counsel?
Correct, yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
If my co-counsel could.
Now you're not.
One moment, please.
I apologize. My computer glitched again. Did you ask a question?
Sorry, I'm just trying to.
Just as an update, Diana, right now we're pulling up your witness statement to clarify a certain point.
Okay.
All right. So I'll just note, counsel, that I don't think I'm going to be receiving an admitted exhibit. This is just for purposes of impeachment. So for purposes of the trial today, I'll allow that statement to be pulled up to impeach this witness, but for that purpose alone.
Correct, yes. Co-counsel, sorry. Thank you. So to clarify, this is Taylor Perkins' statement. If co-counsel could go down to line 50. There stated on line 50, Miss Perkins states, Avery texted everyone on the team, I think even Alex Cifuentes.
Your Honor, may I please respond to these claims of impeachment?
Sure, go ahead.
As you can see right in the witness statement, I think even Alex Cifuentes' direct quote is a speculative statement, and the co-counsel is obviously asking my witness to speculate, and my witness is responding appropriately by not making definitive statements, and I think her response has been appropriate at this time.
All right, I appreciate the arguments. Thank you very much. I will permit the witness to answer that question. She can answer it honestly the way she chooses. All right.
Okay.
So do you remember the question, Ms. Perkins?
Kind of. Would you mind repeating it, please?
So to the best of your knowledge, one of the people that Alex texted was Alex Cifuentes, correct?
Potentially. However, as I'm not Avery, I cannot assure you whether or not she texted Alex Cifuentes.
Thank you. Co-counsel, you can stop screen share. Moving on, you and Avery went to the Fry Shack later that evening.
We did, yes.
You said Avery was attached to her phone, correct?
Yes, she was.
And you didn't know whether or not Avery did or didn't leave Fry Shack with their phone.
It seems the internet has cut out again.
Did we lose Ms. Perkins? Ms. Perkins, you there, ma'am?
I apologize. My computer stopped again. Could you please repeat?
Okay, of course. You didn't know whether or not Avery did or didn't leave Freishack with her phone.
I do not know. I did not see her pick it up.
And you went back to Freishack the next day to see if it was there, correct?
I did with Avery, yes.
But it wasn't?
It was not.
You're the only one with Avery the entire day.
Correct. It was a school day, so the rest of our friends were at school.
And you're the only one who can testify today in court that you were with Avery the whole day.
That is correct, yes.
And you guys were best friends.
We were, yes.
Thank you. That is all. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. To start off, thank you. To start off, why did you quit mock trial for Avery?
I quit mock trial because I believed Avery would enjoy getting to experience one last regionals and potentially state, although that did get canceled, tournament more than I would.
And how did Avery positively contribute to the mock trial team?
Avery's cross-examinations and closing statements were very well done and definitely helped the team get quite a few points.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right. Thank you very much. You're excused, Madam Perkins, Ms. Perkins. Any
Thank you,
further
Your Honor.
witnesses? You're welcome. Any further witnesses for the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you were free to that, dude. All right. So you do have a final witness for the defense, or do I misunderstand?
Yes, we do, Your Honor. We have a final witness.
All right. Who's your final witness, counsel?
The defense would like to call Blake Van Owen to the stand.
All right. And is it Miss or Mr. Van Owen?
Yes, Mr. Van Owen.
Mr. Your Honor.
Mr. Van Owen, and we have Mr. Van Owen. You may proceed, counsel.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Van Owen. May you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Yes, I am Professor Blake Van Owen, spelled V-A-N-O-W-E-N.
And when did your experience with law enforcement begin?
I was on the Aurora Police Department.
And after being a police officer, what did you do for a living?
First, I was a school resource officer, and then I went into the field of private security, and now I'm a private investigator as well as a professor at CU Denver.
And which fields have you been an expert witness in?
I've been an expert witness in the fields of crime scene reconstruction, general police practices, and cell phone tower data analysis.
And what additional training and certifications do you have?
I received a master's degree in criminal justice from Ashford University.
And why did you quit your job as a police officer for the Aurora Police Department?
There was an unfortunate event when a young woman was injured during an arrest, and I was acquitted of all wrongdoing. However, I felt terrible about my actions, so I decided to resign from my position as a police officer.
Thank you. Your Honor, I moved into Professor Blake Van Owen as an expert in the fields of police practices, crime scene reconstruction, cell tower analysis, and general police investigation tactics on the basis of their education and experience in those fields.
All right. Position of the people.
Your Honor, the people request a voir dire this witness.
You may.
Okay, so Mr. Van Owen, what is your formal education regarding crime scene forensics?
I have no formal education. However, I have years of experience.
What is your formal education regarding cell phone tracing?
No formal education, but once again, years of experience.
Are you being paid for this testimony?
Yes, I am. I work very hard and I expect to be fairly compensated.
Have you worked any previous cases?
Yes.
How many?
I couldn't put a number on it, but quite a few.
Now, how many cases have you testified as an expert in?
Once again, couldn't put an exact number, but quite a few, and I've testified in other courts in Colorado as an expert witness.
Alrighty, so how many cases have you been consulted in?
Again, couldn't put an exact number on it, but I have years of experience.
Okay, Your Honor, I object to this witness being qualified as an expert based on their vague experience and education in the aforementioned categories.
All right. Any response from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Two questions, Mr. Van Owen. You do not have any formal qualifications in this field.
No formal qualifications, but years of experience.
And you have been qualified as an expert witness in hundreds of court cases, correct?
I've been qualified as an expert witness in the state of Colorado before.
Thank you.
All right. Having heard the testimony of the witness as well as the objection of the people, over the objection of the people, I am going to qualify this witness as an expert in the areas requested by the defense. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay. Based on your training and experience, how would you describe this police investigation?
It's been sloppy and not thorough.
And in what ways did you educate yourself on the specifics of this case?
Well, I did a partial investigation myself, in addition to reviewing both the police reports and the crime scene reconstruction report, as well as the cell tower data.
In what aspects of the police's investigation do you agree with?
Almost nothing. I agree that someone broke into Mr. Brackman's house and he was murdered, and other than that, I agree on almost nothing.
Thank you. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. How do you believe the perpetrator entered the residence?
Well, as we can see from the Ring video that I reviewed during my investigation, the perpetrator entered through the back door.
And what do you think happened on the scene of the crime?
Well, I believe that the intruder entered through the back door and snuck up behind Mr. Brackman, who was seated at his table, and the intruder stabbed Mr. Brackman in the back with a downward motion, and they're killing him.
And is there any physical evidence of the struggle?
No, all of the evidence that the prosecution has presented is circumstantial. You can't prove when the plate was broken, and you can't prove when the scuff marks were created.
And I'd like to talk to you about the knife wound. What is Kyle Kuzak suggesting?
Well, Miss Kuzak is suggesting that somehow the intruder and Mr. Brackman got in some sort of a fight or scuffle, and the intruder got hold of the knife and reached around the back of Mr. Brackman and stabbed him. However, this is highly unlikely due to the height difference.
Can you elaborate on the height difference, please?
Yes, so as I was reviewing the evidence during my investigation, the second Ring doorbell video shows the intruder walking through the back gate, and you can see that they are much shorter than the gate.
Thank you. And so what's a more logical explanation for the knife?
Well, as I said before, it would be a much more logical explanation if the intruder walked through the back door and stabbed Mr. Brackman while he was seated, because he would be able to stab in a downward motion.
And in your professional opinion, where could the murder weapon have come from?
Well, it doesn't make any sense for the murder weapon to have come from the house, because as you can see in the pictures of the knife versus the pictures of the butcher block, the knives are of two different brands. So it would make more sense if the intruder brought the knife themselves.
Now I'd like to talk about the cell phone tower data being received in this case. What do you believe that the cell tower data is able to prove?
It proves very little. Cell tower data can't be treated the same as GPS data because it doesn't give you a precise location. Phones connect not to the closest tower to them, but to the tower with the strongest signal, which doesn't mean that the closest tower is always connected. So all the cell tower data proves is that Avery Becker's phone was in the area of the house, of Mr. Brackman's house during the time of the murder.
Which other suspects do you believe should be considered in this case?
Blair Rollins. And so I reviewed Jonathan Rollins, Blair Rollins' father's trial, and I listened to the extended recording of that.
I'm sorry, objection? Was there an objection, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor. It was an objection based on narrative.
All right, response?
I'm sorry. No response, Your Honor. I'd like to just move on.
All right. The objection is sustained. You can move on, counsel.
Okay. Sorry. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Let's see. Cross.
Yes, Your Honor. Tell me when you are ready for me to start.
You may begin.
Okay. So, Mr. Van Owen, on the subject of Brockman and his ring notifications, is there any possibility for Brockman's ring notifications to be active?
Yes, but you can't prove that.
But can it be proven the other way?
No. So we can't say with 100% certainty either way that ring notifications were either on or off. Therefore, it can't be included in your evaluation.
But neither can be involved in yours. But anyways, you say that Brockman was stabbed from behind?
Yes, that's a more logical explanation. And as I explained before, the intruder was shorter than the victim, so it would make more sense if he was stabbed from behind while the victim was sitting down.
So, let me get this straight. For a reasonable duration of time, the victim had no way of knowing that their house was being broken into or that there's someone inside of their house.
That is correct.
Wouldn't it be an assumption that the victim was never notified of any sort of intruder?
Well, I can't say with 100% certainty whether the victim knew that the intruder was coming. However, it's a more logical explanation than what Kyle Cusack is presenting.
Yes, but wouldn't that assume facts that Brockman was never alerted?
Yes, that's an assumption that I would make based on my professional opinion and the evidence that was presented to me.
Alrighty. But here's the thing. Isn't it investigation 101 to not make any assumptions?
Well, in my professional opinion, my explanation makes more sense than Kyle Cusack's explanation. So why would I not go with that?
I'm not talking about explanations. I'm talking about assumptions. Wouldn't it be an assumption?
Yes, you have to assume some things in all trials.
So, on to the subject of cell phone tracing. You say there's a better way to trace cell phones?
Sorry, I don't follow.
So you say that the police tracking of the perpetrators, no. You say that the police tracking of Avery Becker's cell phone is inaccurate, correct?
Yes, you can't use cell phone data like GPS data.
Is there any better alternative?
Through all of the chaos of the trial, it's kind of blanking on me.
But is there any better possible way to trace a cell phone than the way that the police used?
As I presented, GPS data would be more effective, but if you're referring to something specifically from my affidavit, I couldn't tell you for certain just with all of the chaos of the trial.
No need to state that. However, do you have tools to do a better job than the police?
No, as a private investigator, I don't have all of the resources that something like police officers would have.
If you don't mind me, I'm going to take a moment.
You may.
Co-counsel, can you pull up the witness's witness statement? Can you specifically go to about line 65? Now, allow me to read a couple lines from this. Police came to the, quote, easy conclusion. The problem with, quote, going for the easy is that it leaves significant doubt as to who committed the crime. Now, just hold on one second. So, you believe that police have come to the quote-unquote easy conclusion, Mr. Van Owen?
Yes, they breezed over major parts of the case.
Do you consider yourself a quote-unquote, excuse me for one sec. Do you consider yourself quote-unquote basically the guy who exposes where police screwed up?
Yes. After the incident with the young woman during the arrest, I see myself as someone who balances out the police.
Alrighty. Co-counsel, you can take down the witness statement. But wouldn't it be responsible to use better technology in case the police did screw up, as it could present evidence that would exonerate the defendant?
As I said before, I don't have the same resources as police.
One second, please.
You may.
Co-counsel, can you please pull up the witness statement? And while you're doing it, can you also move it down to about line 220? Co-counsel?
One moment, please. Some slight technical difficulty.
Perfectly fine with me.
All right, until the technical difficulty, you're good to go then. Timers can keep timing.
Can you go to about line 220? Now, allow me to read an excerpt from the witness statement. Quote, in hindsight, I could have also obtained the tower records for the day prior to the murder in order to confirm Becker and Perkins had been at those same locations a day earlier. Now, Mr. Van Owen, why did you not pull such records?
As I said in my witness statement, in hindsight, hindsight's 2020. Looking back on my investigation now, could I have changed some things? Yes, but I can do that with any investigation that I make. I feel that it's unreasonable to disregard what I'm saying simply based on the fact that I might have overlooked one detail.
But sir, you have to acknowledge the fact that you are the guy who reveals where police have screwed up. If the police have screwed up there, then maybe you should have revealed it, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading question. The question suggests its own answer.
Response.
No response, Your Honor. If needed, I can change the format of the question.
All right, so this is cross-examination.
Correct, Your Honor.
Based upon that objection, it is overruled and the question can be answered. Leading questions are permitted on cross.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
If you are the guy who reveals where police have screwed up, then why would you not reveal such facts during the course of your investigation?
As I said before, hindsight is 2020. If I could go back and do a perfect investigation, would I? Absolutely. But I can't because the past is the past. So I have to do the best I can with the information I have now.
Well, sir, this is a murder case. A murder case involving a man who was violently murdered within his own home and a 17-year-old on trial. So
I do not take this case lightly.
Okay. So as stated earlier, are you being paid for this testimony?
Yes, I work very hard and I expect to be
Wait.
compensated.
Before the answer.
Asked and answered question.
All right, response.
Your Honor, I was just making sure that the witness had testified about it earlier.
My recollection is that he did. The objection is sustained. You may go on.
Okay. So allow me to get this straight. You are being paid to find something against the prosecution.
If you want to phrase it that way, go ahead.
I did phrase it that way. Also, co-counsel, you can take down the document. Okay, no further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Anything further on redirect, counsel?
No, thank you, Your Honor. No further question.
Any further witnesses for the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I'll give the scoring panelists a moment if they need it. If the scoring panelists are ready, they can just let me know and we'll move to closings.
All set.
Thank you.
I'm ready as well.
I'm ready.
All right. Do the people wish to make a closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. When you're ready, you may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. How far would you go to get revenge? Would you vandalize someone's car? Would you break into someone's house? Would you murder someone? On March 6, 2020, Mackenzie Brackman, a beloved coach for Colorado High School's mock trial team, as well as a talented litigator, was brutally murdered by the defendant Avery Becker at his home in Denver, Colorado. Not only was Brackman murdered, but his residence was unlawfully, feloniously, and knowingly broken into by the defendant. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today you are here to prove that the defendant Avery Becker was murdered Brackman in the first-degree murder and prove Avery Becker guilty with second-degree burglary and criminal mischief. Today you heard from three incredibly useful witnesses. Their testimonies today crafted the indisputable evidence in which Avery Becker had committed the crime. You heard from Detective Jordan Markowitz, qualified in detective work and cellular technology, solidifying the evidence given. They have 13 years of experience being in the DPD, 7 of those being a detective. Markowitz not only was able to utilize the cell towers to pinpoint Becker's phone headed towards Brackman's house around the same time of the murder, but was also able to utilize their detective skills to determine the likelihood of a struggle between the two. Alex Afuentes proved that Avery Becker had the intent of breaking in and damaging Mackenzie Brackman's home. They told us today that Avery always showed up late to meetings, always unprepared, always being called out by Brackman. Avery was even demoted to the B team due to their actions. They grew so upset that in permanent marker they wrote Worst Attorney Award across the hood of Brackman's car. By their own words, the defendant vandalized the coach's car, and they were willing to do more. They even said themselves that they were willing to do whatever it took to get back at Brackman. Now, if that's not enough proof, the defendant then texted Alex Afuentes stating that they were going to go to their house to trash it. Finally, you heard from Kyle Kuzak, who proved to have 19 years of experience investigating complex crime scenes, which included home invasions, burglaries, other property crimes, homicides, and armed robberies. Kyle Kuzak walked us through the crime scene and what steps they used to come up with their conclusion. Kyle Kuzak not only justifies the conclusions they came up with, but also explains how the defendant entered the house, the struggle between the defendant and the victim, and finally, the murder of Mackenzie Brackman. Then you heard from the defense. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today I ask you to reject the defense's theories of the case. First, you heard from the defendant themselves. They admitted that they vandalized Brackman's car and were willing to do more. They admitted they were frustrated, that they were angry, willing to do anything to get back at Brackman. In the end, they proved the prosecution's theory of knew it, wrote it, and eventually did it. Next, you heard from Professor Blake Van Owens, an incredibly biased witness. First, they've only testified in court on behalf of the defense, and even then, they expect to be paid between $6,000 to $10,000 per one case. Professor Blake Van Owens was never at the crime scene, yet claims to know exactly what happened there. You heard from Taylor Perkins, one of Avery's best friends. Not only did Taylor admit that Avery always came unprepared to mock trial meetings, but they also admitted that Avery had an incredibly inflated ego. Now you may say, Taylor said that Taylor and Avery were together the whole day, but in reality, there is absolutely no substantial evidence that backs up that theory. Only Taylor and Avery know if Avery was with them that day, both of whom have every reason to lie to you. The defense will try to paint a story for you and say that a student named Blair Rowlands was the one that committed the crime because of something that happened when Rowlands was a child. This is a distraction thrown in by the defense to turn your attention away from the person who committed the crime, Avery Becker. The prosecution understands that the burden of proof falls upon doubt, but today, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we have proved without a reasonable doubt that Avery Becker committed the crime. Avery Becker had the intent of unlawfully entering Brackman's home. That is second-degree burglary. They had the intent to damage Brackman's property. That is criminal mischief. And when they did break in to find Brackman home, they brutally murdered Mackenzie Brackman. On every charge, we have proved that Avery Becker is guilty, which is why you must find the defendant guilty with first-degree murder, second-degree burglary of dwelling, and criminal mischief. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, counsel. I'll just ask that there's a time check as to any remaining time for rebuttal, but I will in the meantime move to the defense closing, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Am I allowed to proceed?
You may, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you so much for your attention and care throughout this trial. My name is Zach Long, and I am presenting Avery Becker, the defendant in this trial. You must now make an important decision. You must decide whether or not to convict my client. What you have seen today with the given evidence is simple. There should be no doubt in your mind when choosing to acquit my client of all of the presented charges. You must also remember that the burden of proof falls on the prosecution. Ms. Becker is innocent until proven guilty. Before we end this trial, let's run over the evidence you have seen today, the incomplete evidence that the prosecution has presented, the evidence that has undoubtedly proved to you that today that when you rush, you miss things. First and foremost, you have seen that the prosecution has no direct evidence tying Avery Becker to the murder of Mackenzie Brackman. They have presented evidence that links someone to this crime, but nothing for certain indicates that my client had anything to do with it. She stated first and foremost that she had never sent those text messages to Alex Fuentes. She also told you that she has never known where Mr. Brackman lives until this trial. Her friend Taylor Perkins had substantiated her alibi, meaning that she was somewhere else when the murder was happening. Taylor Perkins also, as a character witness, said that Avery Becker was a loyal friend and that Avery Becker would not lie in situations like this. Finally, you heard from Blake Van Owen, who dismantled the opinions of two of the witnesses on the prosecution side, saying that the knife was brought by the intruder as it was from a different company, saying that the phone was, quote, in the area, but that has nothing to do with whether or not it was actually at the house of Mackenzie Brackman. He also showed you that there was another suspect in this case, Blair Rowlands, which you should consider very heavily when deciding the outcome of this case. And you also heard from three witnesses on the prosecution side, and I'm going to point out the flaws of their testimony. Kyle Kuzak, first of all, could not connect Avery Becker to the crime. He said that someone matching the description of Avery Becker came into the house and murdered Mr. Brackman, but Blair Rowlands as well matches the description of this intruder. He also said that there were various signs of a struggle, but these were dismantled by Blake Van Owen. You also heard from Alex Fuentes, a classmate of Avery Becker, who has a significant motive to lie, given that he was mad at Avery due to her unpreparedness. He also he also forgot his phone on the day of the interview with Jordan Markowitz, which has more reason to believe that he fabricated these text messages between Avery and himself. Which is also another thing that you should consider is that Alex had full access to Avery's phone, so could have sent these text messages in that time. You finally heard from Jordan Markowitz, who described all this stuff about Avery Becker's phone that was in the area, but this again does not prove anything about whether Avery was there or not. It only proves about Avery's phone. You might also still go back to the vandalization incident as as precedent for this crime. However, this connection would be flawed. Avery Becker never meant to cause permanent harm. She believes she was using an erasable marker and deeply regrets her actions on this day. She said to herself during this trial, she had gotten over her anger towards Mr. Brackman and would never have done something like the charges brought against her. People make mistakes. Avery believes in learning from her mistakes. She knew that what she did was wrong and sincerely apologized for her actions. The evidence today is simple. It should lead you to a very simple conclusion, that my client, Avery Becker, is not responsible in any way for the homicide or burglary of Mackenzie Brackman. Ms. Becker is just a high school student who is passionate and dedicated in many aspects of her life. Reasonable doubt is a doubt based on reason and common sense, which arises from a fair and rational consideration of all the evidence, or the lack of evidence in this case. It is a doubt which is not vague, not speculative, or not imaginary, but a doubt that would cause reasonable people to hesitate to act in matters of importance to themselves. The evidence should present reasonable doubt. The evidence should make you question whether it was Avery Brackman, Avery Becker, or more likely Blair Rowlands who committed this murder. In this country, we are innocent until proven guilty. That's the burden of proof for the prosecution in this case. And in this case, they have not done that in several ways. Please do not take away a successful and prosperous life from my client, Avery Becker. Don't let the rushed and biased case of the prosecution change your mind. If you have learned anything from today, it's that details matter. No one deserves to be charged with a crime they didn't commit. Avery Becker didn't rob anyone. Avery Becker didn't murder anyone. Mr. Brackman's murder was a tragedy, yes, but an act of violence by my client, no. Don't rush through this decision like the prosecution rushed through the process of gathering evidence. When you rush, you miss things. This trial has proved that. As a overall statement, Avery Becker is innocent. Thank you.
All right, thank you, counsel. I believe that people have 54 seconds for any rebuttal if they wish to make it. Did the people wish to make a rebuttal close?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed, ma'am.
Thank you. The defense says that the prosecution's case is messy. However, we have given every piece of evidence needed to prove without reasonable doubt that the defendant murdered Mackenzie Brackman. What is messy is the defendant's case. They would rather have you believe that someone would commit murder based on what their father said 7 years ago. However, ask you to ignore the words that Becker said herself days before the murder. They'd have you believe that the victim was never alerted about the intruder in their home despite having a fully functioning home security system. The only person that can confirm Becker's alibi was the defendant's best friend, who'd skipped class and quit mock trial for her. What's to say Taylor Perkins wouldn't also lie for her best friend? And their one expert witness, he didn't even follow up on the leads that could acquit Becker, which is his job. In the end, the defense's case is messy, and which is why you must vote that. Why you
Time's
must.
up, time's up, counsel. Thank you very much. All right. Everybody can breathe now. All right. So everybody kind of breathe. Everybody just take a minute, right? Okay. My scoring panelists, if any of you are ready, I'll take your comments to the students now. If you need a moment, I'll give you a few moments. Is there any panelist who has comments ready for the students now? Ms. Berens? Your picture just popped up, so I thought you had something to say. All right, I'll give my scoring panelists a moment. First of all, what I'll say to you guys is, wow, you made it. You did it. You made it through 4 trials in 2 days. All right, everybody breathing now? Everybody feeling a little better? All right, a little bit of that pressure gone. All right. I want you to know I am certain of how proud your coaches are, your parents are, your family who's watching you, the people that supported you through all this are of you right now. What you have done for the last 2 days through 4 trials is nothing short of amazing. I will tell you, I've been practicing law for a long time. I was a practicing attorney for over 20 years. I've been on the bench for 6 years, and I could not have done what you did over the last 2 days when I was your age. You guys should be really proud of what you were able to put together, how you were able to put it together, the teamwork that it takes to do this. and by gosh, the courage to even stand in front of a Zoom camera and make the arguments that you made is remarkable. Please be very proud of yourselves and recognize that what you've done is significant. I'm going to reserve any comments because there's nothing that I say that I want to influence your panelists. So I'm not going to say anything specific. I want your panelists to make their own decisions and not to be influenced in any way by anything I might say. Is there any panelist who's ready for some comments to the students? See, they're working too hard. That's good news for you guys. They're taking their time and doing what they're supposed to do. The other thing that I will say to the coaches and teachers that are listening, I am happy to talk to any coach or teacher to explain how we ended up in the position we did at the end of the day today. I expect there's a little frustration with that, and I'm happy to talk to those coaches and teachers individually. I think they all have my contact information. I think I know them all, and they're welcome to contact me, and I'll explain how we got here. Having said that, again, guys, I want you to understand, students, that doesn't in any way minimize all that you did, the fact that you got stuck with me as a judge. All right. And it doesn't change in any way all the hard work you did and what you did here for your final round. I am impressed with what you did. I'm impressed with what your coaches taught you and what you learned. And I'm impressed with where you are today. So please be proud of yourselves. And I hope your parents are too, and your families are. Again, I'm trying to watch my comments here. Any scoring panelist that wants to give it a shot?
I can give it a little start.
All right, terrific. Please do.
Yeah, so you guys did a great job. There's so much preparation that went into this, and I can tell that you've worked really hard. One of the things in the opening statements, I felt like you guys spoke clearly and slowly. That's really important for us as we're listening to it, so that was really good. Sometimes it didn't appear that you were necessarily reading, but maybe you weren't looking into a camera. And this is all new to us, this whole Zoom thing, but sometimes it helps if you look at the camera rather than looking down. Not all of you did it, of course, but I just saw it every once in a while. You guys were good. In this particular trial, there was a lot of interaction between the witnesses and the questioners. I used to be a prosecutor for St. Louis County, and one of the things that I would tell my witnesses was just tell the truth, right? Just tell the truth. It's my job to protect you. So when you're in a trial like this, sometimes the witness, because you've also been trained as a lawyer, want to start, taking on the lawyer or doing that. Just a tip maybe for next year is, your lawyer is going to protect you. So witnesses, just tell the truth, even if it may work against you a little bit. That gives you credibility, because we scorers know the facts and everything. So that's just a little tip, but the witnesses did a really good job, and I totally get that idea of wanting to protect yourself.
I'm sorry, Ms. Nelson, can you tell the students what you do? You said you were a prosecutor. Can you let them know?
Yeah, so I worked at the Southern District Court of Appeals and Supreme Court of Missouri as a clerk, and then I worked as a prosecutor and tax attorney for St. Louis County in Missouri. And now I do estate planning and probate work here. So I have my own law firm. Yeah, but overall, you guys were great. There are complex issues, and your job was to tell a story, and you each took a storyline and brought it through and had the witnesses focus on what that was and then summarized it well in the end. So you did a really good job.
Ms. Berens, would you please introduce yourself and then give your comments to the students, please?
Sure. My name is Arielle Berens, and I am a legal research attorney for the 18th Judicial District, actually. And I was previously a law clerk in Douglas.
I'll just tell you guys that Arielle has done work for me, and she is bloody smart. So please listen to what she says.
because of all the judges' guidance. So we owe it to them. But it's true. It's true. First thing I wanted to say is, I mean, I think switching to virtual trials, I think, has been an adjustment for attorneys, that everyone, judges across the board. And I think especially just, that you guys encountered, I think, some glitches. You handled it, I think, very well, very responsibly, very proactively, as much as you can. And I think even held your composure pretty well. It's especially hard to not react or draw extra attention to when you make a mistake, no matter what mistake it is. So I think that was good. That's difficult. I know I have a bad poker face, so I always go make some kind of face and reaction when I'm doing something. So I didn't see that much, which was great. I think I agree with what Miss Nelson was saying. It's so interesting. I mean, my favorite part almost of trial is seeing the attorneys interact with witnesses and objections and how that goes across and defending it. And you guys really did a great job of, if objection came up, you explained it, both sides. And I thought I understand that some of the witnesses maybe went a little farther into I guess, being their own representation with responding maybe how an attorney would to a question. But I think that also just shows, conversely, how well you guys know this material, how hard you've worked, how much you understand even the legal basis for this. And I was in my late 20s in law school, and these can be really difficult. Hearsay can be really difficult, and just the exception. So I'm just consistently impressed with how fluidly sometimes you guys just handle those issues. And some of the witnesses, especially, I think you guys just know your stuff so well that sometimes I forgot you were acting or something, just because I was like, oh, this person actually has this experience and they've done all this stuff in their job, which is just really fun. What else was I going to say? Yeah, I think it was just really great. And especially as a last round, this was just really fun. And you guys just wove the narratives together so well. And it was a hard choice for me, I have to admit. Coming down to it, was close. So just really great job. Great work, everybody. It was really phenomenal. So thank you.
All right, Mr. Barsen, you got some comments? Would you introduce yourself first, please, sir, and then give the kids your comments?
Yeah, thank you. Hey, everyone, I'm Jacob Barsen. I'm a third-year law student at DU right now. I think you all did a really great job. The first thing I was most impressed with was all the preparation you all clearly had in getting ready for this competition. In my opinion, I see, other students in law school who aren't as prepared as you guys for answering questions or, for being ready to talk about a case. You guys really, that's what you always need to do. And, preparation is key. So that was what I was most impressed with all of you. And it was really impressive to see, even if you maybe lost on a point or an objection or something just didn't really go the way you expected it to, I was really impressed to see that you all were able to continue with your case, your argument, and not let it bog you down or get you frustrated. That's really important no matter what. It's not always going to go exactly how you planned. It's always about how you react and that you can be resilient in a tough situation and tough case. Obviously, working over Zoom is never easy. We've all been going through it. I've been in school. You guys have been in school trying to get through it. But just being able to, deal with technical difficulties and just being able to stay focused when you're staring at a screen instead of actually interacting with people in person is really great job, all of you. Finally, just witnesses, great job. You all really took on your roles well and made sure to get the information out that you really needed to help your case along. So great work, everyone.
All right, and my scoring panelists, have you been able to submit your scores yet? Mr. Barsen, you good to go, or are you still working on it?
Mine's submitted, yes.
All right. I want to personally thank all of the scoring panelists. Volunteering your time to do this work is just so much appreciated by the Bar Association, me personally. I am stunned at the amount of experience that the scoring panelists bring. And guys, I can't emphasize enough. You've got such a broad range of experience and views that you've just heard that is so valuable, the amount of experience that's here to help you understand what you've done and where you're going. So with my personal thanks, as well as that of the Bar Association, You are welcome to log off. Scoring panelists, thank you so much for your involvement today. You're welcome to log off. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For this,
Really appreciate it as well.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
For the students, I want, with the panelists having submitted their scores, so I'm not influencing their decisions in any way. There's just a couple things I wanted you guys to know. First of all, I want neither side to take anything from my ruling on any objection. It doesn't mean that the objection was bad or shouldn't have been made or was good. I made my decisions, at least in part, so that you could display your knowledge to the judges. I wanted them to be able to see how you made objections and responded to them. So if I ruled against you either way, don't think, well, that was dumb, I shouldn't have done that. Nope. Or say, that judge was so clearly wrong. I may have been wrong, but I wanted the judges to hear how you responded to my decisions, all right? So please don't go and think, God, I suck at this, I can't do this, because of what I did. You don't, and keep chugging through. The other thing I wanted you guys to know is that, and I think some of the judges said a couple things about this, but some of the things that you were doing legally were really intricate. Laying foundation for experts is hard to do. And you went back and you were able to respond through voir dire and then objections to qualifications. You then asked questions to follow up on what you were trying to do to qualify experts. That's very tough, very impressive. Impeachment is a very difficult process that candidly lawyers can't get right. All right, they get confused all the time. And you guys really undertook some hard stuff. And so I want you to know that that's a big deal when you take it on and you do your best to meet it. And again, I was very impressed with the things that you were able to do. I again am so impressed with what you've done. Please have your parents or family members follow up with your coaches or teachers about any questions they may have for me as the co-chair of the Youth Education Committee with the bar, so that I can answer any questions that they may have about how things ended up this way. All right. And I'm happy to answer them. There are no secrets with me or the Bar Association. We're not trying to play favorites or be sneaky. We want to make sure that everybody had a good experience. And again, I am so impressed with you guys. Having said that, folks, keep an eye on any emails from your coaches. All right. It doesn't appear, and this is why I want you to keep an eye out for emails or texts from your coaches, that we have the platform capability to do what's usually the closing ceremony. All right. Where you find out who won and what the awards are and get a few more words from me. I am afraid that we'll crash. We don't have, guys, I'm not a techie. I think that we don't have the bandwidth. I don't know if I'm using the right word. So, and this is not to say that this wasn't important. It's not to say it's not important to me. It's just that I don't think we can technologically do it. But please keep an eye out from emails or texts from your coaches, and there may be something that we're doing that I don't know about. All right. So guys, for those of you that I know and those of you that I don't, excellent work. All right. Is there anybody negative here? If I hear, there's nobody that's feeling like crap about this, right? You guys did a great job, right? Thumbs up. Thumbs up. All right. All right. Anna, I know your mother very well. Would you tell her I said hi, please? If she's not watching us. All right. Please let her know. All right. Thank you so much, folks. You guys all enjoy it. Go get some ice cream or a Coke or a big cup of coffee and have a nice rest of your night, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You too, Your Honor.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Meeting. Thank you so much, folks.